She did, she told me along and gave it to me internally, but we're not gonna find it. I think she's out there, but.
Oh.
All right, well, Jack, I don't know whether she because she's supposed to go to sleep someplace.
Do I have any changes to the agenda?
I don't have any now.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Richard?
Nope.
Oh, I did want to just clean up something at the end about dock in the marsh,
Okay.
where it doesn't belong.
All right. So we have a couple of RDAs. Blake at 147 Captain Pierce Road.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda with the change of a dock and the marsh.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Blake, 147 Captain Pierce Road addition.
Right, I have to.
No, we don't have a forum.
What?
False line.
I don't know.
I thought Kevin was here tonight.
No, Kevin has talking. He comes in earlier. Yeah, so we have a forum, and I thought we did, because I didn't have a fall.
Sorry.
I have no idea. I have no gain at all.
I think you're probably better to wait, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry, I'm not really following what's going on.
So we need to have a quorum to do this, and Penny's thinking that she shouldn't participate in this because you're related. So unfortunately, we don't have enough members here to vote on your application this evening.
Okay.
Can you open it though, so I don't have to re-advertise it?
Sure. And we'll continue, Blake. We're just going to continue this to the next meeting.
Okay.
And I apologize, I thought that we had, we've got 3 people that are missing.
That's no problem. When's the next meeting?
23rd.
Okay.
So make a motion to continue Blake, 147 Captain, well, I should read this. On January 9th, 2013, during 6:15 meeting, on the request of Patrick and Kate Blake for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw regarding the construction of an addition on property located at 147 Captain Pierce Road, Scituate, abutters, and other interested parties invited to attend. So,
Okay,
unfortunately, because we don't have lacking enough numbers, we'll have to continue this, but we won't have to re-advertise or anything. Anybody that's interested.
Third, I make a motion to continue Blake IPA until January 23rd. Yeah, it's an RDA.
Sure.
First on the agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
so it's.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, 6:15?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we'll
Thank
try to
you.
get you
Thanks.
done right away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hands, 150.
Request of a continuance?
Okay. So on January 9th, 2013, during the 6:15 meeting, the Town Hall Situate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Susan Hands for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Situate Wetlands Bylaw to delineate a wetland boundary on property located at 150 First Parish Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Did they say how long they wanted, Carol?
No. They thought the lines should be checked. But
Oh,
some-
right.
It's an RDA. What delineation?
Wetlands delineation on an RDA?
I think this is like a small line that they're just asking someone to confirm. And I think the thought was that hopefully by the next time we meet, we'll have an agent. I'm just not sure how much time. I think it's a very small,
It is
Line.
one lot, yeah, it's a 1 yard, 1 lot, I was over there.
Right.
It does kind of go like this.
okay. So I just think that might be a lot. Is it critical? Did he give us any? So pull it out a couple of meetings.
Do you want me to go to the end of February?
Sure.
Okay. I make a motion to continue Hand until February 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so McSherry Brothers, Lot 1, 218 First Parish Road, and Lot 2, 218 First Parish Road. This is a continuation.
Thank you, Carol.
So, my understanding is though that we just got this information today?
I don't know when it was delivered. I asked them to deliver it as soon as possible. I'm not sure when Stenbeck delivered it. Did you just get it today?
4 o'clock today.
So, you guys get continued.
Sorry about that. I asked the engineer to get it as soon as possible. I
Well,
didn't.
nobody's had a chance to look at it,
Yeah.
and that's not a good deal.
Yeah, oh, no, I understand that. But if I could, what I'd like to do is just bring you up to speed on what we've done so far, without having to look at these plans even.
I think really, I mean, what we ask all people to do is to get stuff in advance so that the members have a chance to take a look at it.
Yeah, I understand that completely. I was
Oh,
just
it-
hoping in the event that you didn't get the plans
We're not
in
gonna
time.
enter into any discussion about it. If you wanna, I really don't even know what's in the plan,
Well, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on what's occurred since,
but we're not gonna discuss this.
so you don't want to hear that, is that what you're saying?
Well,
That's
it's not
okay,
we're not
that's
interested,
okay.
But we've also, like, continued this a number of times.
And that's why I'm here, was
But the
to,
plans just got here at 4 o'clock.
I agree, the plans are late, but I'm here because I wanted to, first of all, thank you for continuing it and let us kind of bring you up to speed on what has occurred, despite the fact that you haven't even looked at the plans yet.
I think we'll just wait.
I make a motion to continue McSherry to January 23rd at 6:00.
Second.
Can we move it any sooner? What else we have on? for-
No, the 19th, oh, no, whoa.
No, I mean, time-wise.
Time-wise, well, we have a 6:25, 6:30. You want me to go about that 6:25?
No, that's all right.
I know, it's,
Like every 5 minutes. I just don't want to wait.
I hear you. See, we got Countryway, 305. Why don't we do it? right now?
Those were stated and
Definitely.
continue, we can't change that.
Right, but you can put 2 on for the same time. Just put it
Yeah.
on for 6:30.
6:30?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
I make a motion to continue with Sherry Lot 1 and 2 to January 23rd at 6:30.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Bartlett's, can we do that one yet? In a couple of minutes.
They requested a continuance anyway.
Okay. All right, well, let's get into a couple of the administrative pieces then. Is there anybody here from Steverman's?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, come on up. You have a plan?
Yeah, so, you had it, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it might not be in this, but
So what, the reason that you're here, and I'd state your name for,
Oh, Elisa Steverman.
Brian. Yeah,
and your address, are you in Scituate now, or?
well,
Go ahead.
we're in Abington right now,
Okay,
but the new address is 257.
okay. So, I guess the concern is, maybe actually Penny, why don't you
well,
take that?
Todd and I went down there, and you didn't have to come before Concom to do the house, because you're out of the 100-foot buffer. Just barely the house is. But our concern is that this lot now is gone from a farm to a home, to a building lot, which is all, that's all fine. But when you go to landscape, at that 50-foot buffer, it has to go back to its natural state of being a wildlife buffer. It can't be a seeded lawn or anything, so we wanted to bring you in, and plus I think there's piles of dirt right on that at the moment, and there shouldn't be, there should be erosion controls, you know, to make sure nothing that's in that buffer
Yeah,
zone.
the dirt is actually just the fill they took out from the house.
I understand
That's gonna
that.
be spread.
But it shouldn't be stockpiled
Okay.
there.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So, this was signed off on,
One of the agents, I forgot to ask who signed off on it.
when you got your building permit, you filled out a form, and in the front of the form, it had a series of boards that had to fill out, had to sign off. And so someone for conservation, you may probably don't even have it there,
We have the builder's permit.
yeah, but that won't, it won't be on it.
Yeah.
That's okay. So, someone looked at this plan and determined that you were out of the Conservation Commission jurisdiction with the house. But probably what they should have looked at was that the work that you're gonna do around the house is within the buffer. And it's probably more sensitive because your lot slopes towards the reservoir. And beforehand, you obviously did a lot of work there, you were plowing the field and all that, but it was done under agriculture.
Yeah, it still is.
Well, it's technically, where the house is not. You know, you can't have both, you can't have a house lot and that. So
Yeah.
what we need to do is to be sure that the work that you do around the house, there's no siltation or things that go on in there, in the buffer zone, comply with our requirements. It's not stopping your work or anything like that, but how you treat the backyard, there's gonna be limits to where you can go with a lawn or things, just like we would do any other
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
This house is just roughly penciled in here?
I took the planning board plan and we did it on top. That's how I penciled it. It's identical to their plan.
Okay.
I kind of feel like that if the yard is in the buffer and the 100 and then in the 50, that they should have to file an RDA for that. I mean, it just, not that I want to be like so nitpicky, but
Right.
the edge of the forest is cleared right up to them. And it's clearly wetland right when you step past the edge of the woods. So
Okay.
if they wanna present to us that they're gonna have a farm going all the way around it, I mean, they could divide this lot and stop it here and still have this agriculture down there because it's already in existence, all the way up to where the edge of the woods is. I don't see why that should be a problem. But if it's gonna be a driveway coming around the back to get into a garage, then there is gonna be driveway in the 100-foot, and they should have had to file for that. And we've had people wanna move a stone wall in their yard, and it was in the buffer, and they've filed for that as well. So it's not,
What's an RDA?
it's a request for determination of applicability, which means, does your activity fall under the, or does it have any impact on the Wetlands Protection Act? So, does the Wetlands Protection Act apply to your piece of property? And then if it does, you have to file a notice of intent, to tell us what your intentions are in terms of working in that area.
But it can also be sort of a simplified filing.
Right, so it's not, a lot of times, instead, if it's a whole house, then yes, you file a notice of intent, but if it's you're gonna plant some bushes or cut down some trees or change your driveway, then it's the RDA is generally how our agent in the past has done things for us, so. I think that the piles of dirt, though, that you have piled up right next to the wetland, I mean, it's literally right up next to the woods, should have a stockpile around it of erosion controls. And you guys did put erosion controls out there, so your builder, someone knows what's going on with that. So, and then in terms of spreading out that dirt, that's technically filling the buffer, which is something that we would want people to come and tell us what they were doing about. So I mean, it does seem as though that the activity behind the house does need to have something.
Richard, did you? I didn't see. Okay. I didn't get a chance to go out there myself. No, that's fine. I agree. An RDA is a relatively simple form for you to file. But what you're gonna have to do with that is sort of give us an idea of what you're doing with the backyard, like where you're gonna continue, if you're gonna continue planting behind the house, that sort of thing. We need to know what work is gonna happen in that
Can I
area.
actually stand up and point out to you what the field actually is and everything?
Sure.
I'm sure.
This is a pretty rough.
Yeah, so most years we plant. Hold on, what is this? Yeah, this is the house. Most years, all this is planted anyways, up until the woods line. And the woods line is basically the wetlands. The only thing, like down the road someday, if it wasn't a farm or something, I mean, I might not have a choice now, but I would've liked to have grass and stuff. But if there's ways we can work, like organic, I've never looked into it, because this is just coming up to me. But maybe if there was an organic grass, we'd definitely work with it. I mean, we've always done our best,
So you can have lawn up to the 50-foot line. It's set in the town bylaw, it states that you have to mark the
Yeah.
buffer. You have to plant trees every 4 feet or bushes along that, so that
Yeah.
way there's no longer any incursion into that area.
Okay. You're not gonna be doing any landscaping for a couple more months, I would assume,
No.
this time of year.
Honestly, to be completely honest with you, it could be years. Because we might have to use this as field. I mean, the front, I'll obviously probably grade out and everything, builder and all that. I mean, that we want to look nice, you know what I mean? But as far as the back, we don't want to lose more field either, you know what I mean?
So if you file an IDA, you'll see on it, there's some questions. Starting in another week, we're gonna have an agent on board, and I'd almost feel comfortable at some point, Patrick, even if it has, I just hate to load them up with everything.
Yeah, right away.
Wait, but I guess what I'm saying is, really, not much is gonna happen with this in January, so it's not gonna be till March or April that you're moving much stuff around here. So, why don't you say in a few weeks' time, check in with this agent, maybe we can get some kind of site visit, take a look, he can help you with that. In the meantime, get the RDA form, you can do that online, or you can come into the office. And we'll start that. We'll have this letter here starting this. What the RDA will give us is we'll have a folder in the office with information on your site, and then the things that we agreed on at a meeting. So 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if somebody's doing something there, we can say, oh, wait a minute, we did have a meeting, we reviewed this, and this is what we agreed would happen here. Okay?
Absolutely.
And again, you went through the right process, you got the sign off, and for whatever reason, someone looked at it and determined that they didn't think you needed to file, but realistically, you probably should have, so this will take care of that.
Okay.
And then we'll just, it'll be in the RDA. If you say, you know what, we're gonna continue agriculture across the back here for the time being, then that's there. The time that ceases, here's what you have to do. You know, you can't plant, you know, in this area here, this has gotta go natural, whatever. We'll kind of sort that out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Does that seem reasonable? Yep. You okay with that?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Just try to maybe give the office a call end of January. Patrick Galvin's gonna be our new agent if he doesn't see the list of stuff that's already piling up on his desk, maybe.
All right.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you very much. So Williamsburg, well, we can actually, but you said Bartlett's Field is continued?
Yeah, they requested a continuance, the one who out was Steve Iowa.
All right.
How long should we make that? Carol?
He can stay, really.
Should we go a few weeks? I mean, a couple of meetings?
Probably,
The 4th?
sure.
Okay, I make a motion to continue Bartlett Field to February 4th, at 6:25.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? So then we can do this 6:30 show cause. Lewis, is it C-Strand
Yeah,
and Lewis?
yeah. She's about 5 minutes away, she said. She just has me waiting.
Okay.
Thank you.
How about Anthony on Clap Road?
Here.
He's out in the hallway. Jesse?
How's it going?
For the record, Terry McGovern from Morris Engineering. Just to bring the commission up to speed very quickly, when I set the plan up, I had a hearing on this before the holidays, and Dr. Hewitson went out and walked the line a couple of weeks ago, and we went out subsequent to that and survey located all of the flags on the property. And last week, Greg Morse delivered to the commission a revised plan, pulling away from the line, a revised line a little bit, the house grading and disturbance, basically tucking it closer to this westerly sideline. One flag deviated in this location here, line kind of made a dip in where before it kind of arced around. A couple of flags in this location zigzagged a little bit. He kind of straightened the line out in this area, altered a couple of other flags further away that are not even close to where the disturbance is. Left the isolated wetland pocket alone that's located at the front of the property. And again, as a result of that, we've pulled in the grading farther, pulled in the disturbance farther. The other thing we did was pull, I think one of the things he commented on was we had a couple of roof infiltrators that were just into the 50-foot when we did that, so we pulled those so that those are outside of the 50-foot no disturb zone. So we've made those subsequent changes to the plan, and at this point, we're in agreement with Dr. Hewittson's line of the revised plan.
Jump in.
The whole house is in the 100, and that's gonna be a paved driveway?
That's correct. Pavement goes straight out away from the wetland out towards Flat Road. We are showing, we do have an infiltrated trench that's located, actually the driveway will pitch slightly to the east, and we're showing a stone infiltrated trench running along the entire edge of that driveway. The note for it is at the very bottom, right next to where it says Thomas Clapp Road. There is a trench that's proposed there. We made all of the impervious surface on this site. The roof, all of the roof runoff is directed into infiltrators located in various locations. 2 of them are in the front for the house and the garage. 2 of them are in the rear. And we have the, again, the stone trench. Very pretty detail on there, but basically it's a...
Drain.
Yeah.
All the way down to catch the water instead of having it.
I mean, it is a new build, and I don't see any litigation on this. A brand new build. With a paved driveway.
What kind of, you have the, as per the bylaw, the plantings along the buffer zone?
Correct.
The 50?
Yep, we've specified we're going to put plantings all along that buffer zone.
What are you intending to plant? Like what kind of bush or
We
tree?
can accept whatever the commission recommends.
This is the property with all the beech trees on it, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
And it's pretty much like a beech forest for the
for
whole
the
stretch of
most
that
part.
road, like it's.
Yeah, especially all this upland portion that wraps right around it. It's actually, the beech trees are even down into a little bit of the wetland area in here, but it's pretty wide
That'd be my
open.
preference anyway, is if you're gonna cut down beech trees up on the property, that we should at least, I mean, I don't know how close you can plant them together, they're enormous trees when they come to maturity, they're gigantic. And
Yeah.
there's several really big ones up where you're gonna,
Well, we could certainly put a few in there. We propose more of a shrub story so that you have something that grows in thick, and
yeah.
people tend not to, I mean, if you plant a tree layer and people have openings, they can dump clippings, not that that's necessarily harmful, but they can get back, they can go around it with a mower, they can get back in. If you plant something that's a fairly good shrub layer, I mean, we've used rhododendrons, we've used arborvitaes, we've used, can't think of it off the top of my head. There's one I remember we did in Pembroke that worked out pretty well.
Who did your wetlands delineation turn?
This was actually done from a previous delineation.
Right, but who did that?
It's not, it wasn't Steve Ivas. It was, it's actually somebody that worked in conjunction with John Cavanaro. I think I have it on here, actually.
Right, well, it wasn't someone that you guys, I was gonna say, the easiest thing would be just to get your environmental person
Oh,
to give
yeah,
us
Brad-
some.
we could get somebody, either Brad or ask Dr. Hewitson, let him make a recommendation.
That's, I was wondering that
Yeah.
same thing, I wondered.
He's actually reviewing a project that we're working on in Hanover right now, too. I have no problem having him make a couple of recommendations, and he can just incorporate it into the orders.
It seems as though there were spots though in the 50-foot on the property where it might actually be beneficial to fill that in. It's tall upstory with the trees and basically just nothing underneath. And I just wonder if for the paved driveway, that's gonna be in the 100, asphalt driveway.
Well,
Even with the filter trench, I know you put in the filter
Yeah.
trench, but we've seen the filter trenches and that's a,
Well, the other thing too is, and it's, again, because there's a lot going on the plan, we have a tree line that wraps up next to where this driveway is. So the intent isn't to clear cut across the frontage of the property. We're probably some 6 to 8 feet off the driveway at the front, and then widening out a little bit in the area where we're going to have one of those infiltrator systems. So we're staying fairly tight to the driveway up front. Certainly on the west side, there's no reason to cut out beyond where we have the area for. We can preserve a little bit of tree cover in this area away from the sewage system, kind of the lower left corner, if you will.
Richard, do you have any thoughts?
Does the driveway have to be paved?
It doesn't have to, but it, basically, when you don't pave it and you're in the buffer zone, what we find happens over time is you're likely to have scour. I mean, you could use paving stones or something like that to give it a hard surface, but if you have scour, erosion, anything like that that takes place, eventually you're going to get some kind of erosion that's going to carry down the hill. I just did a driveway crossing over about 400 feet in Marshfield, where we had to go over 400 feet of wetland to an upland area. And we actually agreed that letting the driveway stand for a period of time before paving it, and then paving it actually made sense. Don't go in and pave it as soon as you build it, but maybe let it stand for a season so it settles, but then pave it so it never breaks up. Certainly you could do something, like I say, that's paving stones or something like that, that gives it a cohesive, solid surface.
I have one more. So on the plan where the rain garden is,
Correct.
and then there's a line that says floodplain and watershed protection district. And then you have the tree line, the limit of work line, that's the little squiggle lines. What's that gonna be in between there? Because it's really steep, it goes from 98 at the septic down to 91. What's gonna be between the rain garden and the,
That could be just simply a lawn area. It's not, as you get down towards the bottom, it's not that steep. You're dropping, at that point, you're dropping 2 feet.
no, it levels out down there.
Yeah, it's not that steep in that area. That rain garden in the back corner is there specifically to slow and impound runoff coming off the mounded area where the sewage system is. So that will act as a buffer in the storage area as well. But that entire, basically this entire left side of the property will be lawn.
Yeah, the whole left side
Yeah.
over the septic and everything,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, well, you can't put any plantings on top of the septic. You can certainly plant the slope.
You
And
can
that
plant
would be,
I know, yeah, I'm
you can
just,
plant the slope, and that would be actually a good thing to do. If you planted the slope with some shrubs or something in an area where you're not as likely to mow, that's also going to slow runoff down, give a little bit more absorption. That, if you're going to do it, that's a good place to do it.
on the slope, yeah, to
Yeah.
hold it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just also
Juniper
wonder
or something
about
like that.
perhaps maybe around, at the on the floodplain line by the rain garden is actually moving the limit of where, like, why do you have to clear all the way back to the 50 over there?
Well, we wanted to give them a little bit of a backyard anyway.
Right, but you just said the whole front and side is gonna be lawn up to basically the edge of the driveway. All the way from the edge of the driveway down to the 98 line at the edge of the. Cut over there.
Well, I mean, it is beyond your limit of work. It's beyond the 50-foot buffer. That'd be, again, it'd be nice for them to have a little bit of a backyard. It's not, the total disturbance isn't really that huge as a part of the site. And certainly doing something like planting that slope, I think would be certainly a good idea. And if we plant a dense enough buffer at the 50-foot line, that keeps that from spreading back.
Definitely want the septic up here,
Yeah.
away from.
Coming.
Closer to the street.
I think that, yeah, a 175-foot lot width that you have to contend with too, as a zoning piece.
Mm.
But I think if you want to get some a planting plan, and if you think it's appropriate to pull that tree line back a little bit, and move the driveway, then
I mean, if it was a pervious driveway, it would be a lot different, just in terms of.
well, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the plantings along the buffer and the fact that they're on here and we're not asking for it is a big deal in a lot of ways, just because you did it, which is, you know.
Well,
But it still doesn't, I mean, but it's still like, it's.
Yeah, and as I say, we can certainly come to an agreement on what type of plantings we put out there.
Yeah.
You know, your shrub layer is going to be your best layer to protect that.
It's,
That
I guess,
buffer.
it's not mitigation though. Like the bushes along the buffer line aren't, it's not listed as mitigation in the bylaw. It's listed as working in the buffer zone, you plant the bushes. It's not like, we don't take the plantings along the line as the mitigation. That I don't think we ever have. I mean, I have, when I asked for the bushes, it's to keep people
No,
from
and-
being able to
and
get in there.
They're not intended to be mitigation so much as they're intended to keep people from violating them.
Right, going further, right.
Right.
So, but we do ask for mitigation for work in the 100, almost every time, really every time. I mean, I can't think of any instance where we didn't at least ask for something. Which is why I'm trying to figure out, like, is there just a way that we could just tweak this line here, just to pull it back a little bit, which wouldn't end up in you actually doing a bunch of planting. It would just move the clearing a little bit, because I mean, that's just, it's all beach, and then you get down to that 50-foot line and it starts turning into wetland plants, so.
Well, we can certainly look at that.
Right now, from this corner of the house to that tree line is 30 feet. It's the depth of this room.
Yeah.
It's not a big area.
No, it's not, all right. Well,
That's why I said we're trying to really just preserve some
some area.
small
right.
amount of backyard for them.
This is actually bigger than my backyard. Not that that
And you might
matters.
like it that way.
I do, I know, I'm just saying, it's
But
not
what
like,
if-
it's not like it's a problem, is what I'm saying.
Mine's
And the
too
other-
big. I live in Pembroke. Mine's huge.
Yeah.
I hate mowing it.
The other thing to remember, in the west end, the zoning is still, it's acre zoning, so, you know.
It is, yeah.
Gives a large lot,
Mhm.
as opposed to another part of town where it might only be a half acre or a quarter of an acre.
Exactly.
Well, I think we definitely need a planting plan for that slope.
And then the planting that runs along this border, and just say that it's inside that tree line, that the tree line stays there, and that the plantings are inside of that.
Yeah, how far is that tree line off the,
50?
yeah, the 50,
Probably about 5 feet.
5 feet?
So if we changed it so that it was instead of planting along the 50-foot, that you would plant along the tree line? So it would just pull out the plantings a little bit?
Yeah, we could do
couple feet
that. That's,
at the edge
it
of
doesn't
the
have to be,
proposed-
you know, like if you hung a string and said, okay, here's the 50-foot,
Right.
the shrub is going at that. No, it could be, it would be clearly intended to be inside of it.
It's something that's,
I think if we could get their consultant, Dr. Hewitson, it was actually our consultant, to give us some plants that would be beneficial to that habitat, would be better than a bunch of ornamental shrubs.
Right.
It's gotta be something that would,
yeah, it's gonna survive the deer eating.
How
Yeah.
about we do this, because you have other things on your agenda. Obviously, I sense that you're not going to close it, that you'd like the planting plan. I will call Dr. Hewitson myself, and we'll add a planting plan or planting scheme. I think we've got room to insert something someplace.
I mean, we could close this with us getting an acceptable plan, it's just you're leaving it up to us to make sure we're okay with it. I mean, we're not unreasonable, but it's up,
I
whichever
think-
way you feel more comfortable, I think, unless you wanna wait, unless you wanna leave it open.
I don't have a problem closing it and then conditioning it to state that this is what we expect the planting plan prior to the start of work.
Okay, that's fine.
And we also ask a lot of time that the plantings be done prior to, I mean, I know the season's not right, so I don't know when you intend to start working, but, I mean, that's one that I like to see in there in every
Well,
order that.
Yeah, you've got to make sure you do plant in the right season. The other thing you also want to make sure of is if you're going to do the plantings, you don't want to do them, in some cases, it makes sense to do it prior to start of construction. Here, I would think you'd at least want to get your clearing and cutting done first, because if you go in and you plant a bunch of,
Oh, yeah, no, you would clear the lot and then plant.
Well, plus they have to build the house and the septic to plant that slope, so
Right, so exactly. Yeah, that's fine. No.
I think we'd be okay.
Yeah.
the realities of construction.
But we'll give them a time frame to have it
Right,
planted
and
by.
we have written an order where it says that, you know, before the start of work, there would be
Yeah.
a
Okay,
planting plan. Also the sizes of the bushes.
Yeah,
Like the
now we
actual.
do an actual planting
Right, so
schedule.
we would wanna know, like, you know, minimum 24 to 36 inch,
Yeah.
whatever it is, so they're not just little,
Yeah.
because that's gonna take years to become an actual barrier.
And then just put a time limit on what it's gotta be planted by.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay? We should, I'm good with that. Right?
Okay, I make a motion to close.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
So we can actually, we'll do the show cause. That was at 6:30.
I think, are they in there?
Yep. So just for the record, your name and address.
Maureen C. Springs, 97 Foster Road, Scituate.
So Maureen, you got the show cause hearing because basically, I think it's the fence that you constructed in a buffer zone.
And I just attached for you the email I had used on page 2. And I underlined where he wrote, paddock fencing does not require a building permit, and there are no zoning setback requirements for this type of structure.
But we're conservation.
I didn't realize there
Yeah.
was anything else I had to do. So when I did respond to your no, naturally I said if I should have had a permit, I'm happy to take care of that. I didn't even post it. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When I was down there, okay, and I saw your horse, a lot of your horse, where are you gonna put the horse's house?
Oh, I was very discreet. He's got a stall under my deck,
Well,
which,
that's what I thought. Is that gonna stay there?
well, I'm working on it with Kim Stewart. He's a single horse and he's very small, so she's
Yeah.
given me specific size
Yeah.
requirements, and she's coming by tomorrow morning. We're gonna do a little punch list, and she's scheduled me for a once-a-year visit. She thinks that's
Okay, so you're not going to build a structure where you
No.
put the fence up?
No, not at all. It's just a little play area.
Yeah.
And I've made arrangements, my children play in the yard and play with the horse every day. Everything will be cleaned and it's bagged and removed, there's no compost of any sort whatsoever.
Do we mention why this came up? Is that?
Well, somebody said there was a horse in the marsh.
Someone called the office, that's how it came to our attention. And
I
we-
called, naturally Kim came by and she said, I don't know, but you're gonna have to go through the process. And I said, absolutely, I'll take care of whatever I need to.
I didn't know there was a horse, I don't really, that doesn't, it's that when you put the fence in, you dug holes
Yes.
and poured concrete.
Yes.
So you filled, which is, that's what puts it under our jurisdiction, and that's why someone called.
Well, I get that now, but like I said, I kind of was just thinking building permits usually get passed through the town hall, and so if I didn't read one, I didn't know if I had to come full circle.
No.
No one
I
signed
don't
it.
think we knew anything about this.
Yeah, I didn't.
No,
And it can be a loophole that happens there, which is unfortunate. You call one department, they say, oh, well, it's fine with us.
Right,
And-
right.
And it's unfortunate that they don't say, but there might be other
but you have to
things.
check something else, yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why I'm perfectly happy to take care of anything I should have done previously. I wish I'd known I would have gone through it in the right order.
Yes, she's started this one.
Our concern is more,
Yeah.
well, if there was a blockage of the fence, if the fence blocked any water movement,
Yeah.
things like that, or the material that you dug out from the fence, if you put it onto the marsh or something like that.
Wheelbarrow.
I mean,
And
there have been cases where keeping horses close to freshwater resources have been a problem. I'm not aware that that's an issue here, or that's really our concern, to be honest with you. Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure that his little house wasn't
No, there's not
on
gonna be
marsh.
any, no structure at all down there.
So you understand, I mean, you've seen the other
I-
projects go on beside you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Distance and the setback and the requirements that we have. And unfortunately, or fortunately, a fence does come into that. And that can happen, some places where a fence is actually constructed right next to someone's house, if it diverted water or something else, then that would be an issue. I don't see that that's a problem in this.
Doesn't look like
It's
it's
chain
any
link.
issue.
And the only thing I'd encourage you to do is do think about the nutrients, nitrates, whatever, that are gonna run off into the marsh,
Oh,
that-
there'll be enough that he can settle this, not for that long.
Okay, well,
Everything I
just
can-
keep an eye, just keep that, we would encourage people
Absolutely.
to not use a lot of pesticides or fertilizers or
I
something.
wouldn't do any of that because it would
And-
hurt the horse.
But even the horse's manure is, it's something that you wanna keep an eye on, and,
Absolutely, it would be spotless.
okay, well, that's hard to do, but, would be somewhat of a concern, but I
I'll
think
be
if
paying
you can
very close
appreciate that.
attention and if there's ever anything we need to adjust, obviously.
Okay. Anybody in the audience? Okay, sure.
Is there any place I'm not supposed to ride the horse?
You're not
On the marsh.
supposed to?
Well, that.
Yeah.
That which I get. But I mean, is there any problem with riding, for instance, down if I basically clean up, if I ever took them from the cliff to try to get them to a trail, do I have to trail them the whole time, or can I actually?
I don't think
To
we
tell
have,
you the truth,
No idea.
the only reason I know is there was the horse farm on Boothville Road.
Yes.
Okay, that, if you're going on the sidewalk or down the road, you are supposed to, because Jennifer, Bill was in.
you talking about road apples?
Yeah.
She just said she was gonna clean up.
Yeah, well, that's the
I
only
mean, people ride on
problem
the
that
beach
I
and stuff
know.
like that, and
That's
I
fine.
And the
personally,
Board of Health got involved because the kids weren't picking up.
Yeah.
I think that would be more a question for Kim Stewart, I don't,
Okay.
Yeah.
not to pass the buck, but.
No, I just wanted to make sure so I don't.
Yeah,
miss
that's
it
the only
again.
one.
Carol's a real equine person on the, have you got any recommendations?
No, I used to ride years ago, so we didn't worry too much about road apples up the west end.
I think they're still there, Carol.
They could be.
Okay.
Thank
All right, well, just keep that in mind with other projects
Absolutely.
in the jurisdiction that the commission has, and we'll have to wish people to, you know, okay?
All right, well, I appreciate your time. today.
Thank you very much.
Thank
for coming
you.
in.
Very good idea.
Absolutely.
How about Vogel, 327 Central Ave, addition and deck?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, right here.
On January 9th, 2013, 6:40 PM, meeting at Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of David and Deborah Vogel to construct an addition and deck on property located at 327 Central Ave, Hammerock. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Hello, folks, Mr. Chairman. I'm Tom Pazurski from Merrill Associates, located at 427 Columbia Road in Hanover. Proposal we have before you is to put an addition and deck on the back of the property, renovate the garage, and increase the driveway width, and then put some additional steps over here. And we have up back here a salt marsh BVW, 50-foot buffer strip, proposed erosion controls at the 50-foot buffer line, 100-foot wetland buffer zone, which is also coincidental with the 100-foot riverfront area. You can see we're proposing erosion control measures prior to construction, and that's construction is complete. So if the commission has any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Yeah. It's located near the Army area.
The Air Force
Yeah,
area?
that's
Yeah,
right.
yes, sir.
Yeah, it's 4 or 5 houses short of the,
Correct.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to get over there.
I've been there several times.
You want
I
to
have
jump
some
in?
I have some pictures if you'd like them. Okay.
Richard?
Yeah, a couple of things. How much larger is this house going to be than the current house?
The proposed addition, the floor plan is about 635 square feet. I think the existing home is 1,028, the footprint.
Are you changing the footprint at all?
Well, we're at in the back,
Which is going to be,
635 square feet footprint.
and what are you using to put the deck over?
There'll be piles. Does that answer your question?
What do you mean by pile?
Concrete piles to support the deck, is that what your question is?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
And I may be going in all sorts of different directions here. Bear with me a little bit here.
Okay.
The, you want to enlarge the current driveway, I was just up there, it's currently asphalt, correct?
Correct.
And it's, and you want to take the garage, which does need some help, looks to me,
Yes, sir, it does.
and make it larger than it is. Are you not right on the property line with that garage?
No, we're not.
No.
No, we're 10 feet off.
So the area that goes to the left belongs to this property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any, what is the reason that you want to keep it an asphalt driveway?
Easy to maintain, pull in, shovel it, get out of the garage area. It's consistent with what's in the neighborhood, it seems, what's there already.
Half and half. Half and half. Yeah, I was up there on the lot, and I don't see a real issue in the back. There is a lot of room there. It doesn't seem to fall in as, I'm the new one here, so correct me if I'm wrong. They seem to have a nice handle on where the tie line comes up, where the buffer zone is. Doesn't seem to be anything that's going to interfere with any of the current trees, although I know there's one big spruce that's there.
That'll be fine, that's to the right.
Yes. But my concern really is you're making a much bigger area on the driveway, on the steps. All of this is impervious, and we've really been trying to get away from that and trying to do something that's going to just not be so solid in an area that's, you know, in a 100-foot zone.
I mean, if we had to, there is an incline coming down.
If you want to jump in.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dick Rockwood, I did the architectural work.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Well, why don't you hop in up
Sure.
up the table?
Well, go down.
Well, why don't we jump to Penny and Todd
You
for a
down
second?
there.
Yeah, we can make those steps smaller. They don't have to be that size. That'll help.
You retain the wall that goes along the steps?
No, yeah, there'll be a better wall put up. That concrete wall will stay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What kind of a wall would it be?
I would say a block wall. A
I'm sorry?
decorative block wall, decorative face, small block wall that you put up to build it up.
And you were going to speak on the driveway?
Well, if the commission has a problem with the increase in the impervious area, we could put in some impervious pavers in that area there.
How about pervious pavers?
Impervious pavers, how about that? Yeah.
Oh, you are widening it quite a bit.
It is.
I mean, I need to
60
have
feet.
this
But that's not the real issue, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it
What?
is, it's important, but I just have a question. So where you're expanding the rear of the house,
Mhm.
that's
Gonna be-
going all the way down to the ground? It's like a foundation,
Correct,
and currently it's a walkout basement.
correct.
So that's a habitable floor. You intend to have that be like part of, it, like, because the lowest structural layer in the riverfront area and in a flood zone has to be a foot above the base flood elevation. So adding an additional walkout basement area here, I just don't see how that can be possible, to be honest with you. I mean,
Well,
To
what'll
me,
hap,
it
what'll
just
happen
seems-
is, this'll have to meet the current building code for construction and elevation.
right, which is why I'm bringing it,
Right.
because I'm not sure that you can have that I mean,
Yeah, 10,
Or 10, yeah, and the finished floor, he's correct, it's,
right.
yeah, so
So it would have to be 10. It is at the base flood. It would
Yeah.
have to be at 11.
right.
it's actually 2 feet above in Scituate, or is it 1 foot? No, it's 1 foot
I
above?
think it's 2 in a velocity and 1 in a.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not in the
Yeah.
AO, but.
No, you wouldn't be in the AO, that's
Yeah,
right.
but if the, you're correct, because if the interior living space, if that's gonna be habitated, then it has to be elevated appropriately in accordance with the building code. And this isn't a velocity zone, it's a flood zone.
It's a flood zone, yeah, but it's, the whole property is in the 200-foot riverfront area.
Correct.
And there's very specific, in the Wetlands Protection Act, there are very specific activities that can be allowed in the riverfront, and it state there's a distance that has to be, there's a certain amount of green distance that has to be between the riverfront, I think I remember reading. There's also, it's supposed to be landward side. If you intend to increase any area in the riverfront area, it's supposed to be on the landward side of the home, not on the riverfront side. And it specifically says no new building in the riverfront area. So,
Well, this particular lot falls under the portion of the riverfront area where it existed prior to the riverfront exemption. And what this particular area category this falls in is if there was a lot that was created
prior to August 1st, 1996. This particular lot was created in April of 1940. So the alteration in this case, and I looked it up in the riverfront regulations tonight before coming to here, is all the alterations limited to the lot and the activities associated with construction activities on the lot itself. And in this case here, we can't locate anything out of the riverfront area. And because it falls in that particular category, it doesn't have to meet the other higher criteria or echelons for evaluation.
So that's why I was gonna ask you what year the house was built, or what year, because I saw that in there, and I was
Yeah.
wondering
Yeah.
when.
It hits the first category. And
But it is it is living now, like there's a room
There's a
down
rec
there.
room down there.
There's something
Concrete
down there,
slab. It's a
so-
basement rec room.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it
I just-
habitable.
It could be though.
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously the building department's gonna have something to say, because I've heard Neil speak to other people that we've had ongoing projects with about the requirements in the flood zone, and he talks about rubberizing going up a certain amount, like
Right.
flood-proof doors. I mean, there's all kinds of other things that he
Oh, yeah.
looks at, so it's not us that's
Oh, I
gonna
understand, yeah.
fall under. I think then the question becomes is, if we were to allow the expansion of the house, then it's still within the 100-foot buffer, and we
Right.
do require some sort of mitigation for that. We just got finished in the last new build hearing saying the same thing, that when we're in between the 100 and the 50, we do ask for mitigation, so we need to see some, especially for the driveway. I'm personally don't think that driveway is ever gonna get, I hate to say never, but it is up. Because the back of the house is quite tall, and there's that big wall that goes around the garage. I mean, that's a big wall. It's like an 8-foot wall at least, I would think, or 6 feet. What's covered in the ivy, right? It's
Okay,
all
yeah.
covered in ivy. There's a big wall in there
Right.
where the stairs come down in there, so.
That patio.
I mean, you're talking about like a tall amount of water from the river to get up to that driveway, so.
Right.
The idea of losing a pervious driveway because it's blocks to scour or water rushing over it, I just don't think is an issue, but to have the water infiltrate the ground there is I mean, it's not as much a velocity issue because of the property's location, and I think you even have zone X on one side of the house, is that, because it's up the hill.
That's right.
So I'm not sure that it being pervious, given that it's, I mean, are we recharging any drinking, is there a well? I mean, so it's, I'm not, me personally, I'm not entirely convinced that it needs to be a pervious driveway.
Okay.
I don't like asphalt, but that's not, that just doesn't, so for building this expansion somewhere 2 to 1 equal to the expansion on the back of the house, I don't, Rosa rugosa, something planted along the edges or the
What
back
would
of
you,
the
what would you
property.
suggest that?
Where on the property
Yeah.
to do that? It might not be along the wetland, maybe at the edge of the marsh. I don't, I mean, that would have to be up to everybody.
Okay.
But I mean, it seems to me that we generally require at least 1 to 1 or 2 to 1. I mean, so if you said 600 square feet, then it would be 1,200 or 600 square feet of plantings of some sort of beach compatible, salt marsh compatible.
Salt marsh compatible,
Yeah, that will survive.
indigenous species, and also will help provide some wildlife habitat benefits.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I do think you're gonna have that back door, looked like to me, the water could go right in that back door, so there might need to be some sort of, but I'm sure the building department will take that.
Oh,
Right,
I'm
but-
sure.
But I might possibly, I'll discuss this with Neil Duggan, but then maybe if I have to meet that criteria and come up a foot or 18 inches, then I could possibly do it with that basement and raise the floor.
Yeah,
if
is-
that's,
Yeah, no fill, we don't have to fill outside.
Is there, I mean, this is just a curiosity, I'm not trying to tell you, is there any reason why you can't just go up on the house, up to 35 feet or whatever, instead of going out, could you just go up?
With that
or
foundation?
elevate it? Oh, yeah, that foundation, yeah,
Well,
it's old.
yeah, I was looking for a little better
I
foundation,
see,
and also
yeah.
that's where the living space up above, you know, so at least it's not as cold underneath.
Yeah.
And then once I got to that, I got to the septic area that I have to sort of dance around with the deck and the pier, so that was my, that was what I, had
Yeah, to get the
designed.
wall and the footings in, you're structurally gonna compromise the old foundation. You gotta leave a little room there.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much building
It was just a curiosity, because it is a flood zone, so like if you could have it so that there was more habitable space up high, instead of down and on it's pretty level to the marsh. I mean, when you stand at that back door and look out there, it's not like you're standing that far above the marsh. And at least
Yeah, well, you have about you'd be surprised, you have about a 3 or 4
3 or
foot
4.
drop.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
contours
Oh, down.
Yeah, you can see where the
It does
contours go
contour down quite a
Ah,
bit.
yeah.
6, 7, 8.
And there is a
And some of the
row
pictures I have show
there
that.
is a row of seagrass there that's
Yeah,
reasonably
exactly.
effective.
Well, there's a 4-foot difference between here and
Here
there.
and there, right,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is, on a moon tide and a storm, I mean, that's not
Oh,
a
you're
lot
right,
of
yeah.
distance to cover.
Yeah.
at
But
all.
he's never had problems with water coming in from that, but that could change.
Yeah.
That's what my friends that lived in Connecticut said, and they lost
Yeah.
their whole house.
I live in Plymouth, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I mean, for this stage of what we were doing, we were finishing upstairs, and so, yes, it is basement downstairs, so it's not like there's grand plans, but someplace just to
mhm.
have its interior to put the lawn furniture and do that stuff, and
Are the utilities
their
down there?
utility is down there, but we'll probably elevate
That's
it.
gonna
Well,
have to-
that
Yeah,
would be-
that's gonna be
That would be
elevated, yeah.
required anyways,
Yeah.
to be done.
Yeah.
But, if that came up 3 or 4 feet and it met that requirement, that would definitely have to be done. And I'll discuss the rest on the floor with Neil, and then we'll go accordingly. But we would like that foundation to come out if possible, as that portion,
Okay.
I didn't get out there, so I really can't.
What are we looking to do here?
Does the planting, so if
Absolutely.
there was
Absolutely.
2 to 1,
Yeah.
so 1,200 square feet at the back of the yard.
Yep.
So we would want a planting plan.
Okay, we'll do that, I'll get a hold of the wetland scientist and have him prepare one.
Do you want, I would continue, because if Neil says that you need to elevate it, then you're gonna have to give us a new plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe-
yeah.
I mean, we can close it if you like, because we can condition it so that we get the planting plan before you do any work. but-
Yes, and that would be probably my preference, and if I elevated, it wouldn't affect anything on the ground level here, it would really satisfy the interior, which I have to satisfy anyways, is that? I
But
would
then
do
when
it-
we
I
try
would
and
do
get-
exactly the
So you're
same.
saying that these lines wouldn't change, because if you came for a certificate of compliance and this was different than what you did on the site, we wouldn't be able to issue it. That's why I'm saying,
Well, I guess what I was saying is nothing with the grade would change any differently, and my wall would be in the same spot.
place.
I would elevate the interior to satisfy those codes, and that's what I would do. I mean, if that's,
okay.
and yes, we'd turn into
And
planting.
I'm just trying to look out, just so you wouldn't have to refile, like, what I'm, if it changed so much that it was different than the drawing we have, then,
I can guarantee it won't be any different than the drawing you have, other than that the slab came up to comply with
Different
the building.
Worst
department.
case scenario, they could ask to amend that
Yeah.
order for a slight elevation change.
Right.
yeah.
How about the driveway?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask. What do
I
you wanna do
mean,
about that?
I don't like recreating asphalt. I mean, people have it, they have it, but if you're gonna be redoing it anyway, I personally
Big-
would rather.
Bigger, you're right.
Yeah.
It is pretty good.
It is old, yeah.
So,
But the fact that they're expanding it is the issue.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
so
You have an
want
article, you have a butters here. I
Could
know.
that be
Right.
part of the,
Yeah.
could that be part of the trade-off in the amount of plantings?
No.
No, okay. That was. You didn't have to think about that at all, huh?
We're not holding any poker chips, I hate
Is
to
there,
say.
is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this?
We live across the street, but I got no issues with anything at this point.
And your name is, sir?
Paul McLaughlin, 7328.
Okay.
so we would,
Right in the
in our
orders.
orders, require a pervious driveway and the planting.
And the
plan.
planting.
And the
So
planting.
we need the planting plan
Yeah, I'll call the botanist tomorrow, and I'm gonna go 1,300 square feet, so there's definitely no issue. We're above the 2 to
All
1.
right, yeah,
Okay,
that'll be good.
great.
Jennifer had a slight problem. I
Oh, yeah.
gave you something up there. No, not that.
Just reviewed the plan for proposed work at this address. It calls for an expansion of the garage,
Right.
which I would not favor if there is an expansion of the original footprint of the slab toward the leaching area, because the existing regulation is for 20-foot setback. Also, the proposed deck is clearly over the pump chamber and septic tank, which allows no access for regular maintenance, inspection, or repairs, which I must oppose. Have you had any conversation with the
I
board?
met with her, and I showed her this exact layout here,
Mhm.
and nothing has changed with that. The deck is going to be elevated with the pile set away, so they can get a pump hose in the back there and pump it out.
Mhm.
So,
Well, it may be in your best interest to continue this, get us that piece and deal with this, and get something back from Jennifer, because if you have to make a significant change, and it's not on the plan, then you're gonna be in a little bit of a
and maybe she
pickle.
forgot she met with me, but I left her a plan and everything.
Yeah.
I can tie up that one.
I think we should continue it. I think it's in your best interest as well. In the meantime, if you could get us those things on the planting and whatnot, and get something back from Jennifer, I think that would be the,
I'll have my discussion with Neil Duggan.
Okay,
Probably
that's
pull all
fine.
that
yeah,
together.
why don't you guys just
Yeah,
do
that's
that?
great.
Okay.
Only for 2 weeks.
Do you think you can get this in a couple of weeks?
Yep, absolutely.
I make a motion to continue, Vogel, 67 Central Ave, January 23rd, 6:35.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Ginny, you want a copy? Carol, we have an extra copy of this from Jennifer?
Yeah, I got one right up.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
We're getting that, you know.
Yep.
All right, so why don't we jump back to, I think probably if we do Williamsburg, are you here for anything?
Yeah, I'm here for something, but,
He's here for a certificate of compliance that I have no information on.
you guys have signed off on it already, but it's for my house, it's a development, and I knew it for my house for the closing date, they held $10,000 back. I got your signature and pennies and Paul's on the last one for the neighbor for the same DEP number. It's more than a sort of administrative issue, because you just didn't point out houses on the certificate of compliance. You did for the one guy, but most people don't find it. They go, this title insurance person said, well, it doesn't spell your house out as being clear. as being
Where is this?
Arbor Way Estates. It was that subdivision. And I had no record of this 22.
I can show you the certificate of compliance for the one across the street, and the original submitted order conditions, and then my request. They're all the same number, same DEP, same development.
I'm sorry, sir, your name is?
Keith Hazelman.
And did you have no folder on it, Carol? Or-
I couldn't find the file. It was in a huge box, Arbor Way Estates.
Mhm.
I did find a folder of what had been recorded for orders, the different lots. There was no mention of 22, lot 34, which is his. I had 21. 21 obviously requested the certificate of compliance for the same DEP number, 68949, which obviously, I guess, covers the whole subdivision. But because 21...
Can somebody, just move that along down the hall? Or?
I mean, it's sort of confusing. But apparently,
Who was the engineer? Do you, any,
The original order conditions, and it says that was in Arthur Road.
Neil
He
Murphy.
passed away. Yeah, I know, go back to him again. It's, he's no longer around, and it doesn't show who it was, it just said it was submitted. And I have this certificate of compliance you guys had for the other house to the same DEP number. I don't know if I'm- so.
Sorry.
How long ago did this take place?
Certificate of compliance, or,
Well,
the development was finished in,
Right.
mine was the last house in development of April '99.
right. You want to weigh in, Mr. Bjorklund?
I was going to say, do you want me to read it out in the hallway and you guys carry on, and maybe I can come up with something?
Yeah, Steve is a former member and involved with some of that, so
And he likes to help.
He does.
we can't always endorse what he has, but at least he might be able to sift through a little bit, so. 5 Williamsburg and 305 Country Way. I think most of the folks here are interested in that. We had a filing for an ANRAD for wetlands delineation for wetlands line at the rear of 305 Country Way. And we started to go through that process, and we got input from several people, including a former Water Resources Committee member, that there was potentially a tributary to the reservoir on that site. It wasn't shown in the engineer's plan. Not sure that they had to show this to us, and you're gonna have to bear with us a little bit. We're still without a conservation agent to help us with some of these. We hired a consultant to review the wetlands line, and like I said, through this, this tributary piece surfaced on Tuesday?
Yes.
D-
No,
DEP
yeah,
was
that was yesterday. That
yesterday.
was yesterday with
Yesterday, yeah.
DEP, yeah.
So yesterday, Bruce Bach from DEP came out, and he's involved in these tributary pieces. We also had a site walk, the whole commission, about a week ago, walking the site, having the engineer, their environmental consultant, our environmental consultant, and environmental consultant for Butter, look over the wetlands line, discuss it, look at the different features of the property. Then Mr. Bach came out yesterday. I met him briefly and had to go to another piece. Todd spent some time with him, and they reviewed this tributary. And maybe you can enlighten us a little bit more.
Mr. Bach said that there needed to be indisputable evidence that would show that it wasn't a connected flow to the reservoir, and he could not find that, so he had to leave the line as it stands. He said he can't change it because there's no indisputable evidence that it isn't flowing into the river, and there was some questions about whether if it broke up and went in different directions or if it was underground a little bit, and he said it doesn't matter if it's broken or underground, it's flowing there, and there's evidence that the water is going that way, so he can't change the line. He did say that he would come back at the drop of a hat to inspect it further in a rain event if the property owner wished for that to happen. I'm not sure that they're gonna go there. It was interesting to me that the Zone A primarily has to do with septic systems and not a conservation issue. And that the Board of Health is primarily interested in Zone A because it's protection of drinking water. So if they propose any buildings or septics, that's when our Board of Health is gonna have to take interest in that Zone A. But as far as the Conservation Commission is concerned, it doesn't have any impact over anything that we would approve on the ANRAD. And I also don't even know that we would have to have it on the ANRAD.
That's what I'm curious about. I mean, I've served on this for 6 years and done work prior to that, and I've never seen this. When you and I were out here and we were asking about this mapping and all that, when we review a project, and we had a consultant review a project, and this tributary piece didn't come up, which is kind of disturbing to me that we haven't seen that or had that piece in there. I'd like to have more time to find out about it, but essentially, they've got to resolve that issue. That tributary is on a map. It's our, and that map remains intact until someone can prove differently. And Is he gonna give us any sort
When you
of?
walk that stream, it's clear that that water is going from the head wall at the culvert
Right.
all the way to the reservoir. It's not, you can't, you just can't. I mean, I don't know how you could dispute it, honestly, and that's why the DEP side said that stays the way it is.
Right.
And I had a hard time seeing anything that would make me think that it wasn't hydrically connected all the way.
Well, when we walked it that day,
It seemed like it that day, too.
Right. I mean,
It looked, you could see it even more this time for either a lot of people have walked the area and smashed stuff down, or,
well, unfortunately, but you have to realize that defining a wetlands line is not the same as surveying a lot. When you survey a lot, it's 100 feet in this direction and 200 feet in this direction. When you come up with wetlands delineation, it's a science, and it's left up to different people's interpretation, and that's why we get a consultant to review
Right.
that as well.
which we did agree in the field with the consultants that the wetlands line was where it should be. I mean,
Right.
I think as a commission and as our consultant had said, that the wetland, they moved the line to where the consultant said it was.
Right.
They did soil samples in front of us.
So we don't actually have a hearing scheduled for 305 Country Way till the next meeting, so this is more informational for us as opposed to having a real hearing. We can't do anything about this evening. But just as a discussion from our commission, because we haven't had the chance to.
And not everybody
talk
was
about
there,
it.
so it's good that you
Right.
guys heard what the DEP guy said.
Right. Will he give us a letter to that regard, do you think?
I
mean,
would
I don't-
think so. I think he was gonna talk to Greg Morse again. They had
Mhm.
something. I guess that we should have something in writing. I'm guessing he'll send, we'll have to ask if we,
Okay.
I honestly.
But again, I don't know, I don't truly
think
understand if it's in our jurisdiction, and that's what I'm, like you and I had that discussion.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Okay. What I'd like to find out is if we can add that mapping to our information, so when we
Okay,
pull,
yeah.
we want to find out about that.
So if we can add the Zone A stuff to our spectrometry stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be just good to know, it would help
It
us
would, yeah.
reviewing other projects.
Or we could go to the website they use, but
Right.
then we'd have to go to two different places.
Well, it's, again, it's something we can take up
Yeah, with the new agent.
with a new agent.
Mhm.
But the other dilemma that it brings up, and I talked it over with Greg Morse a little bit, is we already conditioned number 5 Williamsburg Lane. And that same line, we agreed on where the wetlands line were in our jurisdiction. But again, if that tributary stands and the distance around that tributary, number 5 Williamsburg can't get a septic system in.
Right, yeah, there's no, yeah.
And there's also my understanding that there may be like a no work in like 150 from that tributary.
I think it's 150 or 200.
Well, there's 200 for a septic and 150 not to disturb. And I haven't had a chance to,
Yeah, so it's interesting, because it's not something that you come across in our bylaws at all.
no.
Or I haven't read it in any other wetlands.
But I did tell Mr. Morse that he better get a hold of his client that,
Yeah, he mentioned that it wasn't gonna be pleasant when he had to,
Yeah.
on the site visit, he was like, yeah, that's not gonna be good.
but again, I'm not sure that it changes our findings on either site.
Mm-mm. No, I mean.
It seems
no.
crazy that that's not a piece that's in our jurisdiction when you're talking about a
Yeah.
tributary to the reservoir. I mean, we can
Yeah.
change buffer zones and things like that, but the
There is the stuff about the Water Resource Protection District, and there's a
Right.
whole bylaw around that regulates specific
But does the
activities.
building inspector or the planning, I mean, I'm not trying to pass the buck.
Planning does do the drinking water resource stuff. She checks that.
So it's something I think we should be talking with the planning board a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, isn't that something that it's never come up before, the Zone A? Oh, you know what else we learned this and was interesting, and from that visit with the DEP guy, the tribute, that perennial stream that runs down by Tack Factory Pond. It was where it's in between the chiropractor Alfonsenko on 3A.
Yeah.
Right by Tack Factory Pond, and then they're developing that lot right there.
Mhm.
That perennial stream, he knew it very well. and it enters into the culvert, it doesn't actually drain into Tack Factory
That's
Pond at
right.
all. And because it goes around it, once it goes around it, it's not actually feeding any drinking water resource, so it
Right.
loses any zone A.
And I think we discussed, I thought we did discuss that.
We talked about that, yeah, but I hadn't thought, we didn't talk about it as zone A. We were thinking, does that stream, as it
Go into the
enters the
drinking water.
culvert, have jurisdiction? Because a stream, the bottom of a culvert, depending on how it is, does have jurisdiction.
Right.
But because that doesn't feed anything, or it isn't coming for anything, there's it just is interesting if there's something above, up gradient, down gradient. And
I was amazed at how much information he had on the town. You know,
Yeah.
his folder was really concise.
Mhm.
And.
No, they're keeping track, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, it's going into our drinking water.
Right, and that's how they get the permits too. To withdraw water from the well, the town has to apply for permits, and there's regulations about how much water you can take out, and the DEP won't permit it if you're taking out too much water. And so that's where the whole protection of the tributaries comes in, because they measure the outflow after Tack Factory Pond to know how much water's leaving Scituate, and there's a regulation that makes sure that there's a certain amount of flow going over that dam.
Right.
That the water department has to watch, which I also thought was interesting, that they're that specific about what water's leaving our watershed.
Right. I wonder if that's something that we could send a question to MAC on, just for a little bit of clarification. I wonder if they've come across that. Might not hurt
No?
at some point.
No, they do have that hotline that we can call.
Right. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we're actually meeting on 305 at our next meeting.
Yeah, the 23rd.
And whether, we'll have to see what happens at that point. But it does change significantly how that impacts that area.
Yeah.
I wish we could give you more information, but that's what we know.
Okay.
Could
Sure.
you just kind of explain what that impact is? Is it going to prohibit development of the lot back there? It's just going to change the layout?
Mm-hmm.
It would significantly change what they have the option to do with that property. Not only 305 Country Way, but number 5 Williamsburg.
It does, the one thing that we could find when we were in the field that it changes, because if it, up behind the barn area,
Yeah.
that then does have a line there, so he's not gonna be able to build right behind the barn there or have any septics, so it actually forces everything towards the house and towards the upland. Because the wetland line didn't change at all. I mean, we moved it up after our consultant. But in terms of it changing, I don't think it's gonna limit him. It didn't seem like it in the field, very narrowly.
Does it impact building of a road there, right behind that pond?
Yeah, and again, we're trying to find out exactly what they can and can't do. And again, it seems odd, but it may not be the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. You know, we may be looking at the wetlands line or other pieces, but this tributary may have to be dealt with by either the planning board or the building department.
And I think a lot of it is that the edge of the wetland is further up from the intermittent stream. So the intermittent stream has a jurisdiction area, and then the wetlands line is even further up from that. So it didn't really change the no disturb area at all, because the intermittent stream is so far back into the wetland that and it is a man-made drainage swale at the back corner of the property. It's not a stream there. Kind of.
But as that comes up along the side, like it sort of abuts the property on Williamsburg Lane,
Mm-hmm.
but that's fairly wide, where they find the center of that.
Yeah, it's 2 feet, 3 feet wide. We did walk it. Some of the abutters gave us permission to go on,
Right.
and so we did walk that with the DEP guy.
Okay.
We came from the headwater all the way down to the wetland. and into that braided area.
Okay.
And then we started and went up, and then we went all the way back down.
Okay.
But in order for it to be an intermittent stream, it has to have wetlands up gradient. It has to be draining a wetland, which we did talk about that in the hearing. So it's not an intermittent stream until it actually enters into the wetland, because it's not draining any up gradient resource. Which I actually went over there to see, because I was wondering, like, up by the Masonic Lodge and behind the middle school, like, is there wetlands over there? I just wanted to know.
Yeah, I
and
don't
there
believe-
isn't. I didn't see.
No, there's just a bunch of basins collecting water as well as getting groundwater along.
Yeah, there is some grave, weird, like, does anybody know
Tombs.
about the tombs? What?
Tombs.
Yeah, there's some tombs over there.
We don't have any jurisdiction over that either.
No, it just seemed odd the way they were, like, almost like going into the hill that the middle school sits on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Like
didn't know that.
I know, I didn't know, I never saw them before.
Well, you had no reason to be
Hey,
here. in
I
some
know,
of these-
I know, they don't do pancake breakfast at the Masonic Lodge. They do it across the street.
Yeah.
Alright, sorry,
So, I think for the time being, we're gonna need to get more information. The engineer's gonna have to get more information. We wanna find out what jurisdiction we have or who's gonna oversee that. But I would say the applicant has a lot of work to do at this stage in terms of showing those areas. And I really can't give you any more answers than that at this point. But again, both sites have some issues to deal with. And we want to find out more. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll find out more about the tributary and all that. And it'll be interesting to see what their consultants come back with as well. So we can't really debate it or anything. It's more informational for our members this evening, but. Anybody else have any questions about that? So I'm anxious to get with our new agent on that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I'm gonna talk to both the town planner and the building inspector and get their input on some of that as well.
Yeah, I'll call the MACC about the Concom's jurisdiction of DEP Zone A.
Yeah.
Just to see what they say.
Can you print one of those maps? Can you print that tributary map? Do you think you can find that?
Someone gave us all
Yeah,
one of those. I don't know how to, I guess I'll try.
All right. Well, I'd like to take
I'd like
one.
to try Mass GIS, and I just have never gotten on there.
I can print more of those.
Water resources map.
Right. Well, we have that through stuff that came from Lance Van Lenten, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
How'd you make out, Mr. Bjorkman?
Good and bad. When the first person came in to get a certificate of compliance in Arthur Road subdivision, they listed it as house number 21 on Foxvine Road, and it releases the order of conditions which was against the entire subdivision. And the problem this gentleman has is his buyer, because it doesn't list his house number in the certificate, it is holding back the money on him. So unless every person comes in from Foxvine Lane and Pratt Road individually, they potentially could all have problems. I guess what should have happened was Arthur Rowe should have filed for the certificate for all the lots within the subdivision, but the one that was given releases the order that was against the entire subdivision. Unfortunately, his buyer's attorney won't accept that unless it lists his house. So there's nothing more for the commission to do as far as looking at anything, but you probably should draft a certificate of compliance that says for the lots located on Foxvine and Pratt Road that were the subject of that order of conditions. which
I know
was
nothing about
1684.
this project, so.
It was a subdivision, had a detention basin and some drainage.
Yeah.
And when he built that, it was kind of like our Tilden is out there. You get an order against the entire parcel of land, because it's only one parcel of land, but because one of his neighbors came in they got a release, but it specifically says, we released the order on the whole subdivision, but it says project address, and it gives his neighbor's address.
Do we know that that was all done, do we know that that was all completed?
It was released. The entire order was released
And it's
in that
signed by
conditions.
Vinnie, too.
But
Vinnie
not
signed
the
it.
address,
Yeah.
right. Not the individual lot numbers.
But we can't, there are several on Fox Vine that have individual numbers.
Yeah, there's
And no,
other
but this is
DEP
the-
numbers.
That's the problem.
This DEP number goes back to the original, it was like book
So you
312.
can't say that every lot on Fox Vine.
No, that was subject to that order, the order that he has, which is 684 or something like that. In other words, the one that he has released is all the work. It says all the work was complete under, what's the number that's on there?
68949, I know. that.
Okay. So that's really all he needs is something to have his address, and they'll accept that. But it's the same
Everybody
order.
behind me is gonna start coming in, that we ought to do.
Anyone who's subject to the same order. And that says in it
That's
that that
fine,
order is
but
released.
they're gonna have to come in because I don't know who they are anymore, because I can't find that whole,
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain lots, but
But if there's another order of conditions, that,
Oh, yeah,
that's
right.
not gonna be covered under this, but he's holding a certificate of compliance that says the work under this order has been complete. When the buyer's bank did their title research, they found out that his lot was subject to that order. So even though that says the work's all been done, they're not accepting it because it only says lot, or house number 21, and he's, whatever, house 23.
Carol, I thought we found other DEP numbers for addresses in that area.
well, we did.
So how did that, I mean, do you have any inkling
Or
how
any
did that
individual
happen?
that came in with a house.
They may have other issues,
Right.
other DEPs.
They
There's a
filed.
shared septic field out there that comes up, so they gave one, and he,
One.
you know, did a field.
Yeah, he did the
Everybody's
field.
sharing the fields, and it's got the same number, and they're all compliant.
Yeah.
But I'm going, okay, they got a house right next to me, he just did it without doing it, but they didn't catch him or something, and now I'm going, everybody's like, when you get this solved, is it gonna clean it up for everybody? I go, I don't know, I'm gonna go there tonight and see if I can find out where the fix is at. And
Will you find out what lot numbers they were and we can clear it all up?
Yeah.
I think,
It's gonna be the entire subdivision, because there was nothing originally, I don't think.
So we would need
no lots originally.
another certificate with the addresses for all of the properties in the subdivision?
Any lot subject to that order of conditions. I mean, it doesn't release any other orders of conditions.
I realize
It's only gonna
that,
release
but-
that, so any lot on Foxvine Lane, and it's the project address, because on the beginning of that, it talks about the project, and it says Arbor Way Estates.
yes.
And then under that, it says project address. So, I mean, if I was gonna do it, I would say the lots located on Pratt Road and Foxvine Lane that were subject to this order are released. And that would cover just that particular order, same order number on it, and then if there's anything else hanging out there that individual lots came in for, it's not gonna touch those. But this would cover anybody who is subject to that order of conditions. I mean, and most attorneys would probably accept that, but it does say lot 21 under the address. But the project says Arbor Way Estates, which is the overall project.
And do we know that that septic was completed in compliance? I mean, it
Yes,
does.
you already issued the order. You guys, I mean, I think most of you guys signed it in 2009.
Frank, Penny, and Paul signed it in '09.
I mean, it's a simple fix, and you're just releasing the order that you've already released, but you're releasing it against any lot on Foxvine or Pratt Road.
How did it appear that just you two guys signed it?
I think your signature's on there, Frank.
Is it?
Frank's on there, right?
Okay.
I think Frank signed it. I'm lucky, I had just got off the
You
board.
call him Penny at the time, so.
I would've caught that.
Someone else too.
Tony probably signed
Yeah.
it, but his near.
Scott?
Scott signed it. So how can you get the lots that were subject to that DEP number to us? Because we're gonna need,
At the time that that DEP number was done, there were no lots, it was the whole development. They hadn't even made up lots yet. That's why he was trying to do a
'Cause-
generic, he just said.
yeah, no, I
the
get
lots
the
subject
generic, the
to-
lots subject to, I see, okay. When he was saying that, I thought we were gonna know the specific lots that were subject to that DEP number. Because there is, I know, I mean, it would be like a needle in a haystack if you really think about it, because there's other DEP numbers
Yeah, that's
for
why we're
other
only saying
ones out
subject to,
there.
and we'd spell it that
They
DEP
have
number.
certificates though, like we have this thing that lists all the properties there, and there's different DEP numbers for them.
Some have a holding, what do you call it, retention pond right behind their backyard, which have maybe a DEP number specific to that.
Oh, I see.
But then you've got the shared fields that are shared by everybody that has it.
How many houses are out there? Like 12 or something like
Oh,
that?
more than that,
Oh,
19,
more.
19 maybe?
19. that's
19
right.
houses, I think.
Couldn't
And I don't know if
be-
they're
couldn't
all,
be-
are they all in the shared system? Is every
Not
house in
anymore,
this?
they were, but some have now, because of problems, moved into their own yard, like on Pratt Road, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to a generic, I mean,
I guess what I'd have to say is end of Pratt Road and Blueberry Lane.
Yeah, that's how they
Has
originally-
nothing to do with Foxvine.
Well, they
That's
had
the-
no,
but that's-
Foxvine
they
didn't
have a
exist.
Foxvine. That's where the
Didn't
Otherway
exist.
Estates entry is, and Blueberry ends, but they're saying if you line it with Blueberry where it would have hit, if you drew it off, Pratt Road, that's the beginning of Otherway Estates end. There were no roads at the time, so the roads were developed later. But that's, I got the original,
I don't even think he had the name Foxvine at the time it was approved.
no, it wasn't even built. Here's the original found by the Otherway Estates. Is that what you just gave me?
Yeah,
Pratt Road,
that's what I
Blueberry?
have,
Okay.
yeah. But, let me see this one. Okay, never mind. Do you have a book and page of when that original one was filed?
Book 312, page 21.
The original order of conditions or the original
The original
certificate
order
of compliance?
Yeah,
Oh, that should be in your
that
file.
was
I
kind of
think.
the builder to the new
Right.
first homeowner, that there is an open order, that's interesting.
I told you, Steve, there's a box someplace, and since they've changed.
Well, the attorney found that. So the attorney got that from the registry of deeds. So to get the book and page that's recorded in is simple. I mean, he certainly can ask the attorney what book and page it was in to get the original. So you can have recorded in book and page such and such. And I mean, it's a simple thing. I don't mind, I mean, I would help in the office if he needs help trying to do it, to square it away. But it's a pretty simple, more administrative if you guys just signed the final certificate that said it covered all of them.
I mean, if we've already done this, and we can just be specific for this DEP number,
Mhm.
what do you see as a problem?
I don't see anything as a problem. I didn't have information to make out the deed. To make out the forms today. I was
Okay.
expecting a request from one of the lawyers
Okay,
to email me.
okay. So once we get that,
Nobody, I've got a request right here, I mean, I brought it in, but.
okay, so,
But here, it's only fixing me, and everybody else is gonna start coming in next, they're going like, we all have to do something else. So we're thinking like, if it's already been satisfied, isn't there something we can do today that just resolves this, so?
Well, it wouldn't be today.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can do it today, but I
Okay,
think you
so-
could do it with one piece of paper, I think would do it, instead of having 18 people come back in for the same set of
I
orders.
think we can too, as long as I find out where this order.
All right, let's make sure Carol's satisfied with that, and then we'll sort it out.
So we could
I
sign
can
something
have it
that
ready next
says,
week, next meeting, the
Okay.
23rd.
All right, I mean, this didn't start yesterday.
That timing okay for you, Money?
When is the
If they
date?
do it on the 23rd? Are you spending the money tomorrow?
You wanna know what's really going, I mean, if you're gonna ask, I will say, so, divorce court happens before then, we sold the house just now, we gotta go there, the money's tied up in this thing, so I'm going, all right, now how's the court gonna look at that and say, what do we do with the money in the meantime? That's why I'm like pushing along to say,
Yeah.
Does it normally? No. Are we trying to spin around? No. It's tied up for another reason, because the next move is gonna be tied up, so, you asked, I'm telling you where it's at.
The board could actually take a vote to sign the order, and then if we can get it squared away before then, somebody could take it around and have each of you sign it, or you could come in if it was ready.
so if it said this order of conditions was recorded on book and page number,
Yep. DEP number
The Conservation Commission,
hereby releases
And
all
si-
lots subject to this
and
order.
then put that Blueberry Lane part on it, and the DEP number.
We have the recording.
That we
of the
issued
conditions.
the certificate of compliance, and
Right
it's,
here where it was actually filed. when
Which
it was
covers
satisfied.
those.
yeah, so his attorney should get us the book and page number.
I don't-
That would be-
Yeah,
No,
I'll-
no,
I'll-
no, no, this isn't, I don't think this is it.
You know, what, I'm willing to take a vote tonight
Well,
that,
maybe it is, I don't know.
can we do this? I'm willing to take a vote tonight that we can sign this individually once we've satisfied these pieces. I'm not gonna do this at 8 o'clock tonight, and, you know, I appreciate your
Yeah,
input, but I'm not ready to just say this is all set until we have a chance. Carol can get what other information she needs, okay?
And be sure of it instead of going to the register, oh, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Well,
No, we've
gotten
had too many
farther
times.
tonight than we did, Carol and I, in the office, talking to one lawyer, and then another lawyer, and then some other person, and then looking at these papers that are like,
All right. And I appreciate your predicament, but I'm not gonna,
Yeah, I'm just gonna give her the rest of the pages at once, so you have it, where it was recorded. The book
Pat's
four-
coming in Wednesday?
Book 478, page 10 is where it was actually
I
filed.
don't know.
So.
I hope so.
14th?
But that's the certificate.
Oh, I don't get those
You're
memos.
right, okay, I do, I guess you're right.
Okay. Yeah, I gave the wrong one. The order conditions is a different book, an old one, but that's the one that
Right,
clears
yeah.
it up.
All right, I'm just not gonna, I think if we're in agreement that once Carol's satisfied, I don't, the job's, the project's done, it was done in accordance with that, it sounds like it's a clerical issue, essentially. So I don't have a problem signing that, once we know that the paperwork is the proper paperwork, and that we don't create a bigger problem for the office. And that's a reasonable, okay?
I agree.
All right, so does anybody have a problem signing that order?
I don't.
All right. So hopefully within the next day or two, we can,
So I'll be able to follow up with Carol later without coming back to the next board meeting?
yep,
Hopefully.
Unless she tells me it didn't go. Okay.
hope, if that's all satisfied, then she can let us know and we can swing through and sign it. And
Thank you.
hopefully, appreciate your
Appreciate it, thank you.
dilemma. Been there.
All right.
Larson, 22 Shadwell land donation. So we have someone that wants to give a piece of land. I think we brought it up at the last meeting.
Yeah, we did.
But somebody's got to go out and take a look at this, even just get a rough idea of what's there. And make sure that there's no, like, vehicles sitting on the property or something like that.
You know, it was interesting because I kind of forgot about it, and Carol, I remembered about it not yesterday, the day before Monday. So anyways, I was curious on the big piece of land behind it, who owns that? So I went down, and I think it was at one point possibly maybe part of the brewing ground.
Really?
Well, the reason being is this.
Didn't I hear somebody say that
Yes,
before?
I know, you did, and I told you no. Anyway, so when I was talking to Steve down at the assessor's office, I said, you know.
Which Steve?
The assessor.
I was out for the day.
Okay. I asked him, you know, could you find out for me who owns this, blah, 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 you know, taxes. And he went and, he says, you know, that piece of land, it's very ambiguous who owns it. Could very well be that the town owns it.
Okay.
There is not a tax bill being sent out on it.
Huh.
He tried to find.
Sometimes when properties get moved around, if they never get recorded, they can
Well,
like hang
that's
out
what
there.
I'm wondering, if back maybe in the 50s or 40s, that, you know, because that Shadwell and all that was not there back then. I don't know exactly when, it was probably more like the 70s or 80s, those developments were put in. So, it could very well be the proving grounds. It's soft and wet in the back.
Mhm.
And there's another lot next door that somebody should really just unload too when they're ready. Because they just want.
So do we want to take this piece of property?
I think we do.
Okay. And it looks clean, I mean, it's just full of
Yeah.
briars and,
Yeah, it's, yeah.
okay. So,
And possibly, it does connect to the piece he gave us before a few years ago.
okay.
But it definitely, I mean. it
So does
might-
somebody want to make a motion to accept the gift of 22 Shadwell?
I make a motion to accept the gift of 22 Shadwell Lane.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Right.
Street cleanup, Humrock. So I went back with, I met Kevin Cafferty and Sean, is it Murphy? What's Sean's? With the DPW. But anyways, we met down there, to look at the issue of the stone and the cleanup.
Going into the river.
Well, basically after the last storm event, more water ran out and more of the beach stones have shifted around and.
Yeah.
But the problem that they're having is that they've piled up so much stone on the ocean side. I don't know how much more stone, when they have another event, they're gonna be able to put on that side. You know, and that's the problem, is it keeps washing over and washing into the road. We're quite clear that they're not gonna push out as far as they did before. They're trying to figure out a way to get some of the water off of Central Ave. When the bulldozer cleared all that, he cut like a swale. You know, they can tilt the edge of the bulldozer blade a little bit, and he cut a swale in, and I just told them they can't go as far as they did. But I think at some point, if we have a fairly major storm event, we just don't have control over it at that point. And they're gonna need a place to put some of that stone so that they can get emergency vehicles and people can pass from Fourth Cliff. And it may be that some of that stone is gonna wind up on that side of the street. I made it quite clear that we can't go back towards the marsh. That, you know, hopefully they can continue to put it on the ocean side. But the predicament I have a little bit is that, you know, we want Humrock to be treated as a barrier beach, and so everything's supposed to be able to move inland. And Mother Nature, whether we're there or not, is gonna move stone over that marsh. You know, we don't wanna speed it up.
No.
And we don't wanna put piles that are eventually gonna get flattened to put in there, but they're gonna have to be able to clear that road at each storm event.
Actually, it isn't even a storm anymore.
It's so flat right there.
It's so flat in that area. We went through, a couple weeks ago, we weren't having storms, but there were high tides. Every single day they were up there, they had to clean that road.
Right.
Well, it's been calm for the last 10 days or 2 weeks, but it isn't even a storm anymore. A high tide comes through.
And I'm gonna-
High tide with any wind at all.
I'm gonna talk to the town administrator and find out who she wants to put this on. I mean, if we're gonna be involved in, some of the issues that go on in Humrock, I mean, whether the town's gonna be proactive and decide how they're gonna maintain that road, or protect the road, or elevate it, I mean, they've gotta come up with some sort of plan, and then we're gonna have to act on that. It's a shame that we couldn't be working at that together and figure out some ways that might be compliant, or might work, or work with DEP. Because that's been changing too. I mean, you know, in the past years, DEP's stance on some of the things that go on out there has changed some. So, we can continue to keep up a dialogue with DEP. At some point, I'm gonna talk to the town administrator and see where she's wants this to go, but.
It's gotta be costly for the town too to keep moving those rocks.
Of course it is.
Rosemary?
You're referring to Humrock as a barrier beach, and maybe Steve, you know about this many years ago, I'm going to say over 20. It's my understanding that the Massachusetts legislature was accepting applications for barrier beaches to be declared highly developed, which put them in a whole different category. It was it needed a state legislator to do that, and it didn't happen for Humrock. And we've been trying to find out ever since how to go about, and I'm still trying, and gonna try Friday at the meeting.
I see.
But that's always been a possibility, that a highly, Humrock is
An
very
altered
different.
resource, Rosemary.
Yes. Highly developed barrier beach. I mean, Rhode Island has, these rules, these differentiations.
Are there any others in Massachusetts?
I assume so, if, I just haven't looked
Just
into it
curious.
enough, because
Right.
if they came up with that plan, that there must be others that have this designation.
Right.
What would that do if there was that designation? What would be the?
Well, they might be able to build some foreshore protection.
Right.
Or something like that.
Is
Allows you to
Not
waive.
referring to it and having it follow all the rules of a pristine barrier beach. It
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense.
Right.
What happens when, it seems to me that he's talking about the water washing over the road just at high tide. I mean, how, are we gonna raise the whole thing? I'm just trying, because you come to all the
Well, this was
meetings,
a-
so
this
you're
was a
obviously
discussion-
attuned with it.
I think they're battling with it as well. DPW is trying to sort that out as well. Obviously, it's costly to the town. They're trying to figure out what might work.
One thought, a local resident, and who's been there a long time, is suggesting, when the beach was more contoured, it solved a lot of problems. But now each time that apparently that material gets put on the beach in front of the houses, it's flattened. It just keeps, it isn't contoured to prevent further overwash.
If we had someone that could help us with those issues, that would be.
A lot of it's gonna require thinking into the future and making decisions based on things that we aren't positive are gonna happen.
And I think what I'd like to get from the town administrator is whether she'd like the commission, obviously, at some point when work gets done there, we're gonna be asked to condition that. So whether or not we can be part of that process to figure out what will work would make more sense to me.
Like something, so you're saying, okay, we'll say, yes, let's armor the beach, but let's elevate the houses, or to be thinking that.
Well, I think we have to.
Proactively,
And I don't understand enough about it to be making those decisions.
I just know the ocean is going over it.
But it would make much more sense if DPW is gonna do some of that, if the town's gonna do it, that we work on it together, so that they're not just coming up with a proposal that we can't condition. But if we're all sort of working at this together and working with DEP, perhaps we can come up with something that will give them, residents there, some relief, hopefully help the town with that, and make sure that it's accessible during storm events and.
Can I add one other thing? Again, I can't remember how many years ago, but we worked on getting a town meeting, and town meeting approved an $80,000 payment to hire ocean and coastal consultants to come up with a suggestion for how that northern end of the peninsula, from Seaview Avenue north to the base of to the fork in the road, what possibilities would exist that could be permitted, and what they came up with, which has now been kind of dismissed, but were the gabions.
Huh.
On the edge of the road.
No, on the beach.
On the beach?
Yeah.
But it was going to have to be a pilot program, at least 4 houses, contiguous properties were going to have to do it on their own. And we couldn't find 4 properties that was, contiguous, who were willing to.
I guess the problem I'd have, again, and I don't know enough about it, but it seems like sooner or later the gabions would deteriorate, and then it would all just be loose stone. But
Yeah, everything.
It's supposed to be
takes-
galvanized and,
Everything takes maintenance, but my point in saying all of that is, there was a study done things could be updated.
Right. Well, I think, but I think everybody's gonna have to realize this is not, there's no end to this.
going away.
And, we're not gonna make everybody thrilled with some of the decisions that happen there. I mean, it's gonna wind up being, during storms, when things are chaotic or dangerous or whatever, and material's gonna get moved around, and I think the DPW is gonna try better to realize where they are with some of this, but it's not,
It's not an easy solution
No.
to any of
It
it.
actually needs to be further out, if you think about it, than on the beach. It needs to be something like big and substantial, 100 yards out in the ocean.
Jacks,
That's been,
whole series of windmills,
big concrete jacks.
whole bunch of windmills all out there.
Well, we could keep all our recyclables and use the gel from inside the Irish moss and melt down recyclables and then just make it.
Oh, and mackerel.
Right? See, that's the
We're on
kind of
TV.
thing.
One of those guys on conservation doing. All right.
Saying,
Wow. What do you think of that, Richard?
I don't like that one.
So you mean recycled garbage as a big barrier?
No,
to
they're having
protect
trouble on the
stuff?
west, in the west on that. On the
right.
west. I don't want to do that.
But the outside barrier, it does.
I understand.
It's
No, it's a big issue.
it
Okay.
is big, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well,
Moving on.
we'll have some dialogue. And we'll go.
I've been dying to say that for so long. You didn't even know how long.
I'm glad you got it out.
Well, I'm glad you were able to segue into that. That
Yeah,
worked out well.
awesome. Seriously.
Yeah.
You know, the Irish mossing thing,
Yeah.
Get with the tradition, the tradition.
All right. Enough of that. Salt barn at the highway barn. So I got a plan from DPW. They were trying to change the foundation a little bit that they were gonna use for the salt barn. On an RDA, we allowed for a salt barn.
Right, we did.
And they were having some difficulty with the foundation, so they were looking to move it a little bit. I went out there with Mike Breen. The concern was, could they get buses and fire trucks and all that stuff around it and to the fuel tanks? And so they asked to move it quite a bit, but basically said the corner that's closest to the wetland has to remain the distance that we allowed before. If they want to shift the building slightly, sort of pivoting it a little bit, they're not gonna, that corner that's closest to the wetlands isn't gonna change. And then they might just pivot the building a little bit to allow the vehicles. It's tricky. They have these big steel frames down there that hold the snow plows and the sanders, and they're trying to shift around some of that stuff, and they've got a whole bunch of concrete blocks that sort of make up areas where they kept some material, and it's tight. There's not a lot of extra room.
There isn't.
But, so they're gonna work with some of that, and they're also gonna look at some containment and look at some of their drainage structures and see if they can't do some separation and stuff, so if there's any oil or anything like that. So they're working on all of that as well. So it was just a matter of allowing them to turn that building slightly. But the agreement was that it wouldn't get any closer to the wetlands on that nearest corner.
Okay.
And we're just doing some of this in lieu of having an agent here that could go out and look at some of this.
Right.
Erosion controls at 315 Central Ave. This was the one that I gave you the number, and you contacted the contractor?
I did, and he said he no longer was doing the work there. Chris Dealey was, and Chris Dealey called. I called him, and he said he took care of the erosion control. So
Really?
Would you get a chance, Richard?
I was there today.
And did you see, it didn't look to me like anything had changed the last time I was out there.
Nope, it hasn't. The barrier is down in several places.
Why don't you just send them a show cause?
All right.
And
Alright.
also, it looks to me like they cut some things down.
Yeah.
I've got pictures, actually.
Okay.
Good. How did we find out about this?
I was out there with the DPW.
Oh.
My
That's because I drove.
annual
by and I was like,
pilgrimage to Humrock.
Too much going on in Humrock right now, especially the north end.
When you go
Yeah.
every day, that it matters.
Just happened to pass by. The guy was just lucky enough that I turned around in the driveway.
Oh, yeah, he's lucky.
I saw a silt fence going like this in the breeze and a machine in the marsh, it just, something didn't look right.
I don't know how they got that house approved.
I will pull up the folder, and in the meantime, they can come and tell us what's going on. Get you and Paul out there to deal with that one. Actually, we should assign Paul to that tonight, I think.
Yeah, to go down to 315.
I'm closer than he is.
All right.
Straighten it
That's
out.
my.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, so we're good with everything that I had on here. What was the piece that you asked about, Penny? The dock and the marsh?
Yeah. On Gannett Road, Mr. Scott,
Yeah.
his dock is up on the marsh. And
This is where we had the septic
yeah,
tank.
septic, and he's storing it there. It's been there since October. Because I had mentioned it to Jim, and he was gonna do something about it, but I don't think anything obviously was done, because when I drove by, it's still up there, sitting on the marsh.
Okay.
On the marsh grass, you know, right next to his house. I don't know why he takes it up at all. Why? Doesn't he just leave it in the river?
I don't know if he's always taken it out and put it there, though.
Well, you know, that doesn't mean it's okay.
He's supposed to store it out of the floodplain. I don't think he can get out of the floodplain.
On the road,
It'd
he
still
could.
be on the lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, he can't, yeah. So I don't know if you wanna just,
Well, let's take a couple of us will take a look. And see it. All right, what do you want to,
I don't know, I don't know. I just know that he shouldn't be storing it there. Actually, where I used to see those things stored was out behind Millie's house on the grass area, not on the marsh area.
By the
Yeah.
lobster trap area, where,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I
All
mean,
right.
technically that.
so
area
want to just
where
send him a
it's
letter and
stored,
tell him he shouldn't store the dock in the
Yeah.
marsh? Okay?
Don't kill him.
Right by the septic where he had filled and then he cleared that and he
Yeah.
planted that. I mean, even there would be better than out where it is on the marsh.
Yeah,
Now
it
that I
is
think
on the
about it, I
marsh.
saw that there the
Yeah.
other day. It's out on the salt grass.
Okay. All right, so let's just send him a letter,
Okay.
tell him he can't store it on the marsh.
He'll love it.
Yeah, he's gonna love that.
He'll
Okay.
love it. Captain Scott.
What else?
Oh, you know what was, this is just something that Scott and I,
It's almost 8:30.
All right, we were looking at some old orders, and we found this interesting, that in one of the old orders for a septic system out in Hammer Rock, that there was a benchmark 12 inches over septic. The septic's on the beach, and when the benchmark would show, then they'd know to put more rocks on top of it.
It was a specific in the orders that it said you should have a benchmark over any septic, or which we thought was, well, we
Well,
were
I
like,
thought it
no,
was
we should
interesting,
probably
you know,
be doing
let
that. Kind of
somebody
makes
know
sense.
that, you know, your rocks are gone, you better get it covered before it's exposed.
We did used to put those in every order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we haven't. That's what Penny and I
That's
were
what
like,
it-
oh, that makes sense. That there should be some way to inform the homeowner that they've lost enough that their septic is in danger of being compromised. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just for future,
Yeah,
we should
okay.
probably be adding that. It kind of
Yeah.
helps to add, just ask for a benchmark.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Oh, I know you were thrilled. Okay, wanna do the minutes?
Sure.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of November 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of November 19th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then the orders of conditions.
K&E Construction, Johnson, Lot 4B, 6 Man Hill Road. I got a call from the engineer.
Yeah.
If you recall, when we were sorting that out, there was some plantings in the detention area. So one of the pieces that we sort of came up with was that they'd leave, there was sort of like a triangular piece, and they said that they'd keep that undisturbed.
Undisturbed.
Well, apparently the owners weren't in agreement with that. So I said to the contractor, I said,
This is the new plan.
all right, but, so I said to him, if he wanted to come back, we closed the hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there can't be any more input, other than if he's got the right planting material. We can always give it back to him and say, get different planting material. But what I did say to him was if he had some change he wanted to make, he could come in and ask to amend the orders, but he'd probably have to do more mitigation somewhere else. And that would be up to the whole commission to decide whether that was acceptable to them or not. Otherwise, he's gonna have to go out and refile. And I believe that's the right answer for that.
But they did, so when he originally presented it to us, the detention basin didn't have any plants in it.
Right.
And so when he came back, he said, we want the lawn up in the triangle area, and we'll put the plantings in the basin so that it's not some, because remember I said, well, could you play soccer down there? And he was like, yeah, if there wasn't any water, because it would be like a lawn.
Right.
So he changed it so that the mitigation would be in the detention basin.
Okay.
So if you,
You guys want to look at it. This is the plan that he sent. That these plantings would go in here.
Yeah.
And they're going to clear, you know.
Well, they can't clear this. I mean, we agreed that the only way that they're gonna change that is they're gonna have to come back and amend the orders.
Okay.
The only, what we wanna have is what we asked for. And if they wanna do something different, they're gonna have to come back and amend the orders.
that's true, because, yes, because when we closed the hearing, we closed it based on not on this plan.
Right.
So this would be additional information.
Right.
It's not just a planting plan, because this changed.
That's right.
The limit of work changed, so
Yep.
you're right, so we can't.
So we'll issue
A set of orders
the
based on
orders
the old,
on, okay.
with whatever we requested before,
Oh, yeah, okay.
all right?
Okay.
So,
And then if they wanna come in with this plan, but what I can't remember is, did we just agree to a detention pond, or were there supposed to be plantings?
I think we talked about plantings along the 50-foot buffer.
Yes,
That's what I
because
remember.
Yeah.
that's here. A row of bayberry bushes shall be planted along the length of the 50-foot buffer.
And we
Every
so, and
4
then
feet on cent. That's what we,
Right.
That's
I
it.
also added that they put the signs here
Right.
along this contour line, so that way they get the picture that this is mitigation area.
Right.
Because of the plantings, you don't disturb that. That
But these-
becomes
But these plantings was something that they came up with afterward.
after. Right?
So that, this plan, they're gonna have to submit as a amending
Alright,
the
so
order.
wow, so we
okay.
gotta,
So we'll stick with the orders as we originally wrote them, Carol.
with the line, because we had asked for a row of cedars along the.
Yep.
Yep.
So
and
we
I had-
need to put that back at that edge of the tree
Right.
clearing line.
That's still on. Unless you already changed it.
We took it out because I thought this was the plan we were going by.
Okay.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
I
we
don't
took
have the
that.
original.
All right,
ones,
well,
but we did.
what I do,
Oh, good.
42,
Oh, good.
we'll put back in. On the northeast corner along the edge of the triangle, the area, blah, 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 proposed tree
Oh,
line.
that makes
The red
perfect sense.
cedars.
Yeah, the
All
red
right.
cedar,
Yeah,
yeah.
because Todd and I, when we were discussing, we weren't sure if we couldn't.
You want
But
to
you're-
look at those with me?
Yes. I just copied from with the special
You
conditions.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. We hadn't thought of that. Penny and I looked at the whole thing and we were going on this plan, so.
Okay.
No, that's good, it's true. So, we'll do them for the next meeting? No, we can't, we gotta do it soon, because they have to be done in 21 days.
Yeah,
so-
no, we can do the orders,
No, we're
Yeah.
gonna do the orders as
but it's
we-
gonna be the
as we wrote
one that
them.
was accepted the other night, and then he'll have to
Okay.
come back with an
Yeah.
amendment to that
Amendment.
order.
So she has, Carol has,
Well, you just gave them back to her, because she and I changed it
Yes.
quite a bit,
okay, because I didn't keep
based on the
printing,
new
I didn't.
plan. And what you and I had talked about, putting the plantings and then the signs and all that stuff.
We're almost done.
Yeah, I know, they were.
Is that
I
going to
know,
reference the original plan?
Where they
So
were.
can I make a motion to, do the orders of condition as amended tonight? And that would be going back to the original orders.
Yeah, per the original plan. With
So we need
the
to rep-
request for the cedar trees and,
Yeah,
okay?
it's all there.
All right. Second,
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Gilbert, 36 Border Street.
Okay, oh no, that's First Parish. Scituate. All right, there was a little confusion on,
If this takes much longer, we're gonna have to go walk Appleton, Crosby, and
everything
So-
into the dark. He almost lost me last night.
He was probably trying.
I think he was. I couldn't see. Okay, Frank, right here, number 36, we were confused how we wanted.
that's
to
number
do that.
39.
Yeah, no, 39. There's confusion
We
on that.
changed all this, did you?
I didn't
You didn't
keep
get
re-
the ones,
No,
no.
I
All right.
didn't keep
Are you good with-
reprinting.
I thought the only thing so this was,
So did you straighten that out?
we did fix that.
Okay,
We did, and we added a couple things like that, on the plan, they were putting in the post and rail fence to delineate the 50-foot line or the
Yeah.
no disturb line.
Yeah.
And based on what we've talked about in here, it seems as though the post and rail fence fails.
Right.
We're not, so I changed it to be a row, like the bylaw states with the plantings.
Yep.
In place of the fence to put in.
okay.
But otherwise, the on-site botanist, then there, the recording the trees, the green trees.
Right.
That's in there. We just changed it that no trees could be cut down on the property without permission from the conservation office.
Yeah.
To make it clearer. We took their mitigation plan that their wetland, yeah, I think it was Brad Holmes presented to us, and there was language in there about how the invasive species would be removed by hand, bagged, disposed of at a proper facility, so we just took his mitigation plan and referenced it, stating that the invasive species would be removed as per that mitigation plan, because we were thinking like, oh, if they just go back in there and they pull them all out by hand, well, what do they do with them?
Right.
But there's language in there about a licensed facility, bagging, removing it off a site and disposing of it in a licensed facility.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that means that they're not just gonna throw it on a leaf pile somewhere.
Okay.
Then I make a motion to accept 36 Border Street as written.
So, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Amend RJB Development, Berwick, 513 First Parish Road, Catch Basin.
That looked fine to me.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept RJBD development amendment to it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have certificates of compliance for 14 Atlantic Drive, 35 Brunswick, 49 Seaside Road, and 73 Kane Drive.
Okay.
Did anybody look at, how do we get to those?
Todd looked at them, but I don't think we're gonna do 49 Seaside, you, Todd.
No, we asked the engineer to go back out and check it, because when I went to the site, there was just a lot of things that weren't on the plans. They were supposed to be a planting area and an L shape. I couldn't find it. In place of where I think it was, there's a built-in fire pit with a patio around it, and it's all block and cobble, but then they also they share a driveway with their neighbor, and so they put down gravel, and they gravelled the whole driveway, but when they were done, there must have been some left over, and they actually dumped probably a quarter yard of gravel up onto the cobble in between the two houses, which
Okay.
I wasn't the agent, so I wasn't gonna sign off, and then there was, we looked into this as enclosures. They enclosed the stairs, they put in some lateral supports. They have the V, the cross hatching, because they raised the house on the piers, they have the cross stuff. But along the edge of the beach, they put in like a 2x12 or a 2x16 on a big board all the way across the front of it on the piles, which with like a lip on the top of it, like a sandbox, so you could sit on it. It basically looks like a built-in bench, but it's there to keep the cobble from going under the house. Then the other one was that in the orders, it specifically states that this is an eroding barrier beach, that you at no point can remove any cobble from underneath the house. It's right in the orders, but when you go under the house, it's flat, it's clean, it's like, it looks like, it's down by the ponds, it's right by Egypt Beach.
Oh, okay.
It's by
Yep.
Sixth Pond, I think that the last pond that's
Right.
up there.
Chain ponds.
The chain ponds, yeah, so
Okay.
I just felt like I didn't, it did, and
Okay,
there
we'll let
was
their
one
engineer-
big, the one other big thing, and this is something I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but it's not on the plans, there's a pergola on the back deck on the ocean side, a big pergola with lights on it, and then a gigantic hot tub. And I mean, I don't know if that's a problem or not, I just figured we should.
All right, well, let's get the engineer to.
It's all elevated?
It's all elevated, yeah. I know, I just don't know if the top blew off and
Well, get the
then chlorine, yeah, exactly. So,
Okay. All right. Is that it?
I think they were fine, yeah, they were
Anybody got anything
old.
else?
I think the
Any?
one was like 1980.
You're all set, right?
Am I all set?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all set.
Tomorrow night is Hunter's Pond.
Hunter's Pond.
And what time is your first meeting?
Okay, they moved it to 5 o'clock.
What's at 5?
It's gonna be just discussion with, Princeton Hydro. They're
Where's that?
gonna
Where
do
you-
the study.
are you gonna do that at the-
It's down at, Pier 44, and,
I think they call it something different now, don't
I know, I think, what do they call it?
Harbor
The
Community
Harbor Community
Harbor
Building.
Community Building. Anyways, that's just a private meeting, just to get everything together, and then we're gonna have, there's a public meeting, but it's semi-public, it was by invite, and that is for the neighbors and the butters of the pond.
And that's at what time?
That's at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And they just would like to get some feedback from the neighbors and let them know that there is a study going on to decide what to do with the dam. And so that's basically it. It's the first step before they actually start the studies that have to be done in order to decide what's the best action to take
Okay.
with the failing dam there. So that's.
Anybody else? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Sure.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.